So 2 p.m. on March 10th. We'll start with roll call. Please say yes, or you're here or present. Adagarla. Edvate. Anderson. Bender. Buma. Emery. Fahim. Goff. Gonzalez. Hanyang. Hayes. Hurley. Klaptauskas. Lewis. Lona. Ludwig.
Here.
Mass.
Here.
Pfeiffer. Rinchi. Schulte. Springer. Stenzel. Stevens. Weathers. Young. Zastro. Buma. Goff. Hanyang. Hayes. Lewis. Rinchi. Young. We have quorum. Moving into Pledge of Allegiance led by Speaker Ludwig. This way. Front flag.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll go to the program for the evening. First is the Schloss Center with Dr. Marcus. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so if you could approach the podium and we'll get your PowerPoint pulled up, if you have one, I'm not sure, and then you can introduce yourself and go straight into the program.
I did not bring a PowerPoint because I feel like most of you, I'm on Zoom all day long looking at slides. And I just felt like we're all a little bit tired of looking at slides. I would just simply tell you about the Schloss Center and introduce myself. And then I would love to hear your questions because I don't actually know what people know or don't know about the Schloss Center. So I thought this could be more interactive and more of a conversation. And I won't take too much of your time either because I know no one wants meetings that go on and on. So I'm Dr. Sandra Marcoux. I use she, her pronouns. I direct the Margaret Schloss Center for Women and Gender Equity. I've been in this role for 3 years, and I've been at ISU for 10 years now. Prior to this role, I was an advisor and faculty member in World Languages and Cultures. So my background is in languages and literature. Let's see, I guess I would begin by telling you that the Margaret Schloss Center for Women and Gender Equity is one of the oldest gender equity centers on a college campus in the United States. We are the second oldest. The oldest one is actually just north from us, up in Minnesota, at the University of Minnesota campus. So 50 years ago, back in the 1970s, there was a Women's Week, which we now have again, so it's kind of cool. We've come full circle. The initial Women's Week took place in the 60s and 70s and was a program similar to this week, intended to bring attention to issues faced by women at the time on this campus, right? And they look somewhat different from today's issues, but nonetheless, there was the same sentiment of we need to pay attention to these issues of inequity. Following several iterations of Women's Week, a committee was formed by faculty and staff who identified as women who said we need more than just a week, right? We need more than just 1 week a year when we think about these issues. And so this committee, which still exists today, the University Committee for Women and the Advancement of Gender Equity, was formed in 1971. And their main project when they got together was to advocate and ask for a center, a physical center with staff, with money, with resources, and a location that would year-round dedicate itself to eradicating gender inequity. And so they asked for this repeatedly from the university, and were told repeatedly, not surprisingly, there isn't funds for this, because usually that's what happens when you want to start something new. You have to figure out, how am I going to pay for this, right? So the institution was like, well, we have all these other goals, so we don't have funds for this. So they got community members involved. They reached out to community groups. They got a ton of support. And so Iowa State, the second only in the country. So you have to remember what they were asking for was actually quite new and radical. There was only one example of such a center up north from here. But it wasn't like today where we have centers dedicated to certain issues on campus and we take for granted their existence. So the university said, fine, we will give you space in the Sloss House on the second floor. You will share it with the lectures program. They will be on the first floor. And we will assign maybe 1 or 2 staff members and some funds for you to be able to do year-round programming and advocacy for things that impact women in particular. At the time, what they really cared about was getting women to finish college degrees or return after having a baby. Because if you think about what you know about the 70s, a lot of women got married young, left, didn't complete degrees, and then that pretty much kept them out of the workforce and having financial security for a long time after. So that was one of the early sort of focuses. How do we get more women to graduate, have degrees, go into the job force, and promote gender equity through that avenue? And so if you look at really old pictures of the Sloss House on campus, you will see like baby carriages out front on the lawn. Because what they said was, come here and you can leave your baby here and go to class, and we'll let you, we'll provide a space where you can have childcare so you can go to class and graduate. This may sound really antiquated, but some of you may know that childcare is still a huge issue that we're dealing with today. And you probably know, because student government has been very much involved in these discussions, right? We had a task force just about a year or 2 ago that President Winterstein put together to look at the fact that there's no childcare. We're called a childcare desert in Ames. There's not enough childcare for the children present in this community. And who does that impact? Who ends up staying home and becoming the primary caregiver and opting out of a salaried position, right? And it also really deeply impacts students and graduate students because childcare in Ames is extremely, extremely expensive. So it's really hard if you're low income or on a student budget or a grad student budget. So anyway, that was the first issue. And that's sort of the origin of the center. And we continue to be housed in the Sloss House. And that's just, across from here, I think that way. So you might have walked by it and seen the house. And up until January 2019, it was the Margaret Sloss Women's Center. And I started working there in 2018. And one of the first things I noticed when I took my position was that only a certain type of student walked into a women's center. And they were students that were already there and bought into our cause and issues and participating and engaged. And a lot of students who we wanted to reach or who we just wanted to be involved in what we do would just not feel like they could open the door and walk into the house. And, to speak on a binary, it was a lot of women who would walk in and men and male students would just sort of walk by. And even when we do like free cookie, food always draws people in. They would take the food, but then still be really hesitant to walk into the space itself. But we know that gender equity and eliminating gender-based barriers isn't an issue that can be solved by one group alone, right? And it also doesn't just impact women. And that's something that we talk about all the time, and we know gender inequity impacts men, women, non-binary folks, trans folks. It impacts everyone because no matter how, it has a ripple effect throughout society, right? So everyone is impacted. So if we're trying to eliminate barriers due to gender inequities, or we're trying to create a society where every individual feels like they can be their whole selves and not be boxed into a strict category, everyone has to be part of that conversation. So in January 2019, we changed the center's name. It was the first time in almost 40 years of the center existing. And we had administrative support and we had a lot of campus support, and we became the Margaret Sloss Center for Women and Gender Equity. And that's really our emphasis today, and what we try to focus on is that we want to bring an intersectional lens to our work. We want everyone to be involved with the things we do. We try to offer a number of resources and programs and things that are applicable to a broad cross-section of our student body. So what we don't try to do is create one type of programming for one type of group. We try to create many, many programs that each speak to different groups on our campus who might need it. Right? And I'll give some examples of programmings we offer. Because I've talked about pay and money, we offer a salary negotiation workshop. That is a 3-hour workshop where you literally sit down and get in-depth training on how to negotiate your first salary. We know statistically that first salary can also set sort of the bar from where you go from there, because you're always then being hired and offered something sort of in relation to what you're leaving behind. We say it's geared at women in particular because we know that women earn less to the dollar, but it's open to everyone. We have never turned anyone away. If you feel like this is info that you could benefit from, everyone's welcome to our tent, right? And we have this amazing curriculum that we purchase, and we have written grants to be able to buy it so that it's free for everyone on campus to participate in. And we have faculty and staff who come too. So salary negotiation workshops. We have affinity spaces. We support the ISU Dreamers, which is our student group comprised of immigrants and allies. We support our QTPOC group, the Queer and Trans People of Color group, students, faculty, and staff who identify as QTPOC. And we used to hold monthly dinners at the house to build community, but the house is currently closed because of COVID, because it's a small house. So we're looking forward to when we can reopen it, but they meet virtually. We support the Women of Color Network. We have a weekly speaker series that tries to address a whole broad range of topics. Let's see, we have book circles, we have things on gender, we have things that are related on other parts of identities. And what we try to do is whenever someone raises an issue and says, this is something that's missing on campus, I really don't see this event or this program or this thing that would really benefit me, we think of how we can bring that, introduce it, or create it. So over the years, we've done lots of sort of ad hoc things that just came from requests. So I encourage you, if you see something that's missing on campus and you want us to help you start it or help support it, we love to do that because ultimately we're a staff of less than 10 people. And so we can only think of the things that are important to us. And there are lots of things that we don't notice that are happening on campus because we may not experience them in that way, or we're just, I'm not a student anymore, so I don't exactly know what it's like to be a student today on this campus. So we always want people to come and tell us what it is that they think is missing and what it is that we can help create or support or do. And so that, in summary, is sort of everything from history to present with a lot left out, but just, a brief summary of what the SLA Center is and what we try to do and who we try to support. And we really do hope that the name change and emphasis on gender equity tells everyone that we are interested in hearing from everyone, and that we really are interested in seeing gender equity from a very broad lens of how that impacts everyone and how we can all work together to improve things. And so that's why I was also really thrilled to be invited to speak to you all tonight and to be here for Women's Week 50 years later, right? A sort of a coming full circle back to what started our center. And I'd love to hear questions, thoughts, comments, remarks. Very, very honored to be given this time and space with you all tonight.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. So if you have something to say, please put your placard up. Senator Springer.
I think this should be working. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you coming and talking to us. I wasn't aware really of what this Lost House did, so that's great that you're providing more information. I have two questions for you, I guess. So the first one is, do you have any specific thoughts on things that could be improved at Iowa State regarding gender inclusivity or equity?
Yes, there is always room for improvement everywhere. I can tell you that my lens and what I see is really more in the realm of how gender inequities play out in the employee realm, right? Because I'm an employee and I sit on lots of committees that are around policies that impact employees. But I would love to hear what you all think impact students. What could be improved in terms of gender inequities as a student? And I'm throwing that question back at you. And it doesn't just have to be you who raised the question, but anyone who wants to speak to that.
Sure. I guess I think I'm lucky in that my majors are mainly women based. So I've definitely, well, not lucky, I'm sorry. I haven't faced discrimination based on my gender in my majors. I have friends that are in engineering that are women that feel like things are a little uncomfortable sometimes, but I guess I haven't had any personal experiences enough to have specific ideas, you know? My second question, it's kind of related. Are you guys involved in any like specific projects right now?
Yeah, so we have an extensive list of ongoing programs, and the best way to see it all is just to go to slos.dso for Dean of Students Office.istate.edu. That's our website. Under programming and events, you can find all the things that are going on right now. And also, our scholarship applications are still open, so there's also scholarships. So there are a few things that are ongoing right now that I can just name. We have a retreat for the Women of Color Network that we always support and sponsor, and this year it's in April. Usually it's a fall retreat that takes place off campus over the weekend for any student who identifies as a woman of color. Because of COVID, we had to change it, and it's virtual, and it's this spring. But that is going to be a really great event, and that's coming up, and registration is now open for anyone who identifies as a woman student of color. The Women of Color Network was founded 10 years ago at ISU, and because it's the 10-year anniversary, we also have some of the founding members coming back and speaking and telling the story of how it started. So that's really exciting. We have a speaker series every Friday at 1 virtually on different topics, and this month in particular, in March, we're focusing on queer parents. So if you're a queer parent, what does that look like? I think that's something that doesn't get a lot of visibility, and if you're a student who identifies as queer, you might be wondering, what will it look like for me to start a family and have kids? So you're going to hear from people personally about their journey to parenthood. Let's see, we just had a salary negotiation workshop, and as everyone else, we're getting ready for graduation and wrapping up the semester, and we have different things we do with that. Those are just sort of the ones that pop into my head right now. And for a more detailed list, you can also look on the SLOS Center website under programming and events.
Awesome, thank you.
And I'm sure Speaker Ludwig could share your email, Doctor, with the senators, and then maybe they can give ideas later, so we're not so pressured to think of them right now. But
Absolutely.
Senator Hurley.
Thank you so much for coming here. We all really appreciate that. I was curious, you mentioned a speaker every week. I was curious, would the center be interested in funding a speaker that was a little bit higher priced who was in one of those communities? Or would that, I'm sorry. Would that fall more under the committee of lectures? Would you be willing to work together, a collaboration, or?
I really appreciate that. That's a really kind offer. And yes, we would always appreciate that. And in fact, one of the good things that has come out of COVID and having to move everything virtual is that we were able to invite speakers this year that weren't based in Ames. So in the past, we would hold a speaker series in the SLOS House, and we're sort of limited to local resources. And now we've been able to have experts on different topics, Zoom in, and we do try to compensate everyone and pay everyone, and our budget is only, so much. So absolutely, we're always interested in partnering with any other group that would like to sponsor and co-sponsor and co-host a speaker or a program or event that we would do. Yeah, that sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Fahim.
Hello. Wait, is this on? Okay. Hello. Thank you for coming here to speak with us tonight. I first just wanted to say and express my support for the SLOS House and Dr. Maku in general, because over the summer I was going through a pretty tough time, and the SLOS House was there to support me, and so I wanted to give back some of that support as well. And so, as you would ask Senator Goff what issues we've seen as students that impact us as women, as an engineering student, I would say I'm fairly privileged to be in biosystems that is mostly women, but I know from other friends of mine who are in different majors, specifically aerospace, mechanical, that they face issues feeling included in those spaces and feeling like their teachers are actually speaking to them. Mm-hmm. So those are issues that I think need to be further examined. And then a question for you. So you talked about changing the title of the Sloss House to be more inclusive. Are there other ways or initiatives that the Sloss House has brought up to include people who normally wouldn't seek that out?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really important point, that changing something in name doesn't always follow with action, right? And what we don't want to do is signal that we're inclusive and that we're welcoming, but then have nothing to back that up. Because in fact, that can be really harmful, right? If you signal to a community, we want you here, we're putting this out there in name, but then when you come, you have a really negative, potentially harmful experience because we haven't done any of the legwork to do the action behind our words. I would say that we've done a number of things to really approach the gender equity work we do from different lenses and how it impacts different communities. And the best way we do that is often by involving people who are part of those communities to tell us what is needed, right? And our staff too brings different lenses to the conversation, and we're always really intentional in hiring so that we don't hire a bunch of staff members who all really have the same knowledge round, right? Any great team, we know that any great team should be comprised of individuals who all bring something different to the table and can complement each other, right? And so we do that, and I think what we've done is has led us to partner a lot more too with different units on campus and create really specific programmings or partnerships. And then we work often with WISE, with Women in Science and Engineering. That's one of our main partnerships and collaborators. I can't believe I didn't think to name it sooner because it is, and I'm part of the search to hire the new director for WISE because that's such a close partnership. So we're also really aware of how the sciences and STEMs as a field was for a long time dominated by men, and there needs to be conversations about what it looks like to open up any field that for a long time excluded a certain group of people. And we know that too because the Margaret Sloss Center is named after Margaret Sloss, who was the first woman to be admitted to Iowa State in the College of Veterinary Science, VetMed, and the first woman to graduate with her doctorate in veterinary medicine. She was a pioneer. She started sitting in on classes. She wasn't admitted. They told her to go away, and she refused, and she kept taking the classes, completing them, and then the faculty finally, advocated on behalf of her to the administration to say, we have to give her the degree. She's done all the work. And so she then officially became the first woman to graduate with that degree. So we're highly aware of the STEM and the sciences too being a place that hasn't always been welcoming and inclusive, and doing the work there to address that need.
Okay, Senator Pfeiffer.
Hi, thank you for coming. So you talked a lot about equity, and I was just curious, obviously equality is a different word, but can you describe how you see equality and equity and why equity is your goal?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking that question because it's a really important question, and I think sometimes we don't always operate from the same terminology. And right, I mean, the cliche sort of visual that comes to mind with equity and equality, and perhaps you've seen this image where you have like a fence and you have three people that are trying to see the ball game across the fence, and one is a child, so they're really little, they're short. One might be using a mobility device like a wheelchair, and one is an adult that's standing, right? Giving them all the same step stool, that would be equality. They all got the exact same thing, right? We gave everybody that same step stool, but the child on the step stool still looks straight at the fence, not above the fence, right? The person using a mobility device can't wheel themselves onto a step stool. And the adult is now even taller and can see the game comfortably. So equality assumes that by giving everyone the exact same thing, it meets their need. Equity takes into consideration that people have different needs, right? Based on where you start out in life, who you are, the identities you hold. If you have a disability, if you're a child, you have different needs than someone who's maybe an adult who's able-bodied. So equity says, what do I need to give this child so that they can see over the fence and watch the ball game? Do we need to bring a ramp so a person using a mobility device can wheel up to a higher spot and see? So equity looks at what does each group or individual need to access the same end result. Equality says, we'll just give everyone the same thing and just hope it works out. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. And an important distinction to make, so I'm really glad you asked that question.
Thank you for the response. I yield.
All right, then I don't see any more questions. So thank you for coming, and we appreciate having you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Speaker Ludwig.
I move to postpone the next program until after open forum.
There's been a motion to postpone the next program until after open forum. There's a second. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the next program has been postponed. I would also take a motion to add Senators Hanyang and Lewis to the roll. Senator Klapatowskis makes the motion. Is there any objection to adding the senators to the roll? Seeing none, those senators have been added. We'll move on to open forum. Open forum is a period of discussion for issues relevant to students and the student body. If you would like to speak at open forum, please approach the lectern. Please state your name and the college of your primary major. As a reminder, there's 10 minutes for open forum. If you get close, I'll tap on the end so you get a chance to wrap up. But thank you. And Senator Lona, I think you'll be first.
Hello, everybody. For those who are watching online, my name is Leslie Lona. I am a senior in biosystems engineering, and I am a senator in student government for the College of Engineering. So I stand before you all to say that it is appalling, disappointing, and foolish that the president and vice president of the student body decided to release a statement condemning the free speech of certain individuals, but not that of others. When a senator of student government incited violence on their organization's page, were those comments condemned? No, they were not. They sit amongst us today. Instead, as a senator, I had to sit through a Senate meeting where our vice president encouraged messages supporting free speech and tolerance, all while in the presence of 2 police officers who showed up to our session, to protect the Senate from the threats that were made by said senator. Conversations around free speech are always surrounded on protecting the individuals who weaponize free speech to hurt others, and never around the individuals or group of people that are affected by said speech. Yet in a weird turn of events, the president and vice president decide to sing a different tune and release a statement, quote, not agreeing with the context of the comments that were made, end quote, when a person of color shares their personal experiences on their personal account regarding their experiences with white people. A statement, I might add, that was advised not to be released by members from their own cabinet. So next time you decide to pick and choose what speech should be condemned, do not rope the rest of student government into this, because I can assure you that many members of student government, including me as an engineering senator, do not back the statement you both decided to release today. To all the candidates running for president and vice president, learn from their mistakes. And when you speak on diversity and inclusion as a part of your campaign, don't provide the student body with empty promises.
Hi all, my name is Eliana Krab. I am the Director of Outreach for Student Government, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. This is something that both me, Anna, and Lauren's the Diversity and Inclusion Director here, and the Senior Director of Communications, Olson, have kind of put together on our statement on how we feel about this event. So on March 10th, the statement was released by President Morgan Fritz and Vice President Jacob Schrader regarding a diversity and inclusion panelist for Women's Week conference. As members of student government and creators of Women's Week and the Diversity and Inclusion panel, we do not agree with this statement. Upon advising President Fritz and Vice President Schrader on how to approach the Diversity and Inclusion panel, we jointly recommend that keeping the speaker on the panel and not releasing a statement would be the most appropriate action. We came to this conclusion based on the recent events in which statements were not released regarding comments made toward marginalized groups on our campus by a senator. In addition, upon communication with Iowa State University's First Amendment specialist, we confirmed that our recommendations and opinions of allowing this panelist's views to be heard were protected by the First Amendment. No matter what identities we hold as individuals, there is always room to learn and grow. We encourage all Iowa State students, especially those holding more privileged identities than others, to dedicate time to educate themselves on topics surrounding racism, white privilege and diversity, equity, and inclusion work. As university students, we are fortunate enough to have countless resources at our fingertips to aid us in becoming true allies and supporting our underrepresented peers. Women's Week is about celebrating all women everywhere and allowing for free and honest exchange of ideas. Our hope is that we can continue to learn from this experience and become a more welcoming and inclusive community. That is from all three of us put together, but I kind of want to speak on some of my own experiences I've had within student government. The really hard thing about this is you all saw a lot of the surface stuff that happened, and it's so disappointing to see that the stance our vice president and president decided to take after getting advice from women of color about a diversity inclusion panel for Women's Week. I remember Lauren was talking about white fragility, and that's a topic that is kind of new to the conversation. And I remember she was discussing that, and that's how we kind of took it, and we realized that that's something that's kind of being aided by President Fritz and Vice President Schrader. And I remember while we were talking about that, and Women's Week is all about celebrating women and everything we've done and letting us have a seat at the table, and being interrupted by Vice President Schrader did not feel good. We had a goal to create diversity and inclusion for women, and being interrupted by a man while we're trying to have a conversation regarding white fragility and women's rights. It's really frustrating. And discussing the First Amendment, it's just been really frustrating. And I talked to Morgan today about this, and I really respect her, and I really want to say thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to actually sit down and have a conversation with me and telling you that we need to fix things. And you said yes, and I'm listening, and I'm going to help you. So I want to say thank you so much to President Fritz for that. She was wonderful with that. But I just would like to see a big change within Senate. As you can see, there's many senators that are gone. A lot of them represented LGBTQIA communities and also BIPOC communities. And we're losing BIPOC community people. Sorry, I'm just nervous. We're losing BIPOC people within student government. It's really, really sad to see. I love this organization so much. I put so much hard work into everything I do, and it's just really hard to see people being teared down by one single or a couple individuals. And it's really frustrating to see, because this is something I love, and I know you all love it as well. But yeah, that's kind of all I have. So next time doing anything in student government, think with your hearts. Don't think for yourself, think for other people like me and all those senators and people in cabinet that we're losing. Thank you so much.
I know last time we had a series of speakers for an open forum. We had the speakers kind of line up along the wall to make the walking maybe less awkward as you come forward, but do whatever you please.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Scott Nguyen, and I use pronouns he, him, his. I'm a third year in aerospace engineering, and I'm the president for the Multicultural Greek Council. First, before I start, I'm sorry, I missed your name, whoever spoke first. Or no, sorry, the person after you, sorry. Well, both of you guys did a great job, but I think for the person before me, what's your name, sorry? Eliana, I just want to say, thank you for saying what you said. It really, shed light upon the situation even more, and I'm sorry that you had to go through those things. I'm glad that you have people there to support you through that. But for me, I just want to continue this conversation without me saying so much, but I just want to ask the president and vice president, when you guys campaigned, you guys promoted this campaign of trying to promote cultural competency campaign and teaching that to these students. Do you guys feel like you guys are competent in that area, and how so?
Hi, did you say it was Scott?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your question, Scott. Excuse me. So that's something I feel that we can always continually get better in. And like Eliana said, we did have a conversation today, and there's always ways to improve. That's something I try and stay educated on, but there, as I said, always improvements can be made, and I will continue to work on those.
Just moving forward with your statement that you said earlier today, like how would you be moving forward from saying that and learning like the things you have learned today?
So I'll touch a little bit on that when I come up and speak, and then if you have any questions after that, maybe that'll help clarify some stuff, and then I'm happy to answer any questions people have after that.
Okay.
Is that fine? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Can you hear what the Vice President has to say as well?
Yep. Yeah, I think that there's always, cultural competency is a continual working to improve, and I'm here at a university to learn and to get better. And I hope next year I'll be better than where I'm at today. And I hope 2 years from there I'll be better than I am next year. In 3 years, I hope I'm better than the year before that. So thank you for coming and speaking. And I'm paying attention. Thank you.
I think with that, this conversation has been going way too long. So since you guys are in these positions of power and have these positions with authority, how are you guys gonna keep each other accountable? So you make sure that you guys promote that, the diversity and inclusion, but also building up that cultural competency as well.
I can speak on, was that towards the senators or was that towards the?
That was towards everybody in here.
All right, I can speak first. I don't know if you can see me, Scott. I'm over here.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. Yeah, I know it's a big room. I can stand as well. So my name is Mariana Gonzalez. I am the current Vice Speaker of the Senate. And so as a woman of color, there's been many moments where I could have walked away from this organization and given up on the various instances where we have failed our students. But I'm committed to making this organization better and to continually have those conversations and bring awareness when issues like this happen and support, whether that be BIPOC communities or LGBTQIA plus communities or those other marginalized communities that feel like they aren't being listened to. So at least as far as I can say, sorry, the screen went black. As far as I can say, my commitment to this organization is to make my stance as a woman of color here and to not let anything keep me away from it.
Okay, thank you.
I would say that, coming from all different colleges and residency areas, we all have very unique perspectives, also tied along with just who we are as people. And so just making sure that people feel heard in, all of their viewpoints and opinions and ideas, and making sure that, we have an honest and respectful and open expression of ideas within this organization to best serve students and make sure that all voices are heard is what I'm committed to. Thank you.
All right, so thank you.
I don't know, I'm tall, okay. So, hello everyone, my name is Brianna Diaz, my pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the Vice President of Community Outreach for the Multicultural Greek Council. If I look familiar, it's because I was here roughly a year ago for the thing with the Students Against Racism. So obviously I expected change with the new leadership, and obviously that didn't happen. I feel like with this specific group, we were promised certain things and they did not deliver. I think that what they're telling us is what they want us to hear, and I understand that there are other people here in this group that feel the same way that they do. You can easily see that by the body language of multiple people here. My main reason why I am here is because of obviously the thing that had just recently happened. But in addition to that, this is just one piece of the larger picture. This is just one minor thing that has happened as opposed to several things that have happened before. What I want to know is why the panelist was she was looked down upon and she was basically excluded for her ideas, which were honestly very accurate. But yet there are multiple orgs at Iowa State that promote hate, and they have bigoted ideas. They promoted arming up. They talked down about people in the LGBTQ plus community. They talked bad about minorities. But all of that was left undone and nothing was happened because of their freedom of speech. So why is this any different? Oh, well, I think we all know why that was different. I think that there's a lot of things that need to be done and need to be changed. I think that I think, obviously it's not going to change overnight, like that's for sure. But the thing is, like, your actions speak a lot louder than your words. So you've been promising things from the beginning and nothing has happened, nothing has changed. So then how does that add up? It doesn't. I don't think that your intentions have been genuine, and I hope that they change, because I think that that's what Iowa State needs, because I love Iowa State, I do. And I honestly, at this point, I haven't even been focusing on my classes. I've just been focusing on trying to make a change. And I don't care if I get my degree or not. I just want to make sure that I leave Iowa State a better place when I graduate. And I would hope that you guys would have the same ideas.
Hi everyone, my name is Kay, like the letter. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm the Collegiate Panhellenic Council president right now at Iowa State. I just wanted to come up and make it clear, Morgan is a member of our council, so not only does she represent student government, but she represents CPC. So I just wanted to make it clear that I don't condone the statement that was made today. It was basically like a professional way of saying, like, we don't see color or all lives matter, and that's not something that my council supports. So I just wanted to make that clear, that it was embarrassing. It's evidence of a problem that our council really needs to work on, and I just wanted to let everyone know that that's not CPC's value of social justice, and that's not what we condone.
Hi everyone, my name is Brett Clark. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Director of Student Services for Student Government and also the Vice President of Social Justice for the Collegiate Panhellenic Council. And I just want to echo everything that everyone has said. I really appreciate all of that you have said, and it was most of what I wanted to say. And I kind of wanted to echo what Mariana said, because I just want to say that I really appreciate her and Director Perk and Director Crabb for all of the work that they put in, but it shouldn't be up to the marginalized communities in student government to be making the change, and that's not okay. And honestly, just like I think it was Eliana said, there's a lot of people missing from this room, and I think we all know why. And it's honestly, it makes me appalled to be a part of this organization, if I'm being quite honest. Like, seeing that statement today did not make me a proud member of student government, and it's honestly making me reconsider whether I want to be in this space or not. But kind of like Mariana said, it's because we want to make a change, and I think that there needs to be a lot of other people in this room that want to make that, not just using marginalized identities. And I also just wanted to say that I think you need to really reconsider what your intent was with the statement and what the impact of it was, and consider the impact that it had on students and which groups of students you support and which ones you don't.
Good evening. My name is Morgan Fritz. I currently serve as the student government president. I would first like to thank everybody that came out tonight to share. Just know that we are and will be listening to what you have to say. So this morning, myself and Vice President Schrader released a statement regarding one of the Women's Week panelists. In short, the individual tweeted some comments that were brought to our attention by multiple students that they found to be of concern. After lots of thought and discussion, we noted the importance of allowing one to have, free speech and share their experience as they please. However, because the students came to us and were uncomfortable with the content of these tweets, we felt that it was worthwhile to release a statement reaffirming the First Amendment and the panelists' ability to share their expertise as a scholar of women and gender studies and as a woman of color, while still being able to address the concerns of students who found issue with the tweets. And so because Women's Week is a student government event and we get to determine the guests that are invited, this is a kind of unique scenario in which we have unilateral discretion on who we invite and promote to speak on panels. So this statement was not meant to discredit the individual's experiences or expertise, but rather to acknowledge that the personal tweets in question were concerning to some students, but in doing so, still allowing her the platform to share about her knowledge and fulfill her freedom of expression. So in the statement, the nature and content of the tweets were purposely left vague because the intention of the statement was to acknowledge the concern of the students while still promoting the Women's Week event and the insight that this professor can offer in the realm of diversity and inclusion, and women and gender studies being a good expert in that realm. But I look forward to continuing to listen to what people have to say, either tonight or in the coming few weeks here. And you can come to me and express disagreement and difference of opinion. Please do so. Student government is an organization that we want to have open and honest expression of ideas, and that includes particularly expressing things that you'd like to see change or disagree with. So I very much appreciate everyone coming out here tonight who has expressed disagreement and who has expressed concerns. I am all ears, and I'm open to any suggestions that people have tonight and in the future. So thank you. And I think I see Eliana raise her hand.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to discuss, you talked about how student government chose the speakers. So what we did is to figure out the speakers that we wanted to talk to, we reached out to the Sloss Center, we reached out to the CAT Center, we reached out to Diversity and Inclusion, and also Sophie Young, our Health and Wellness Director. We also sent that email out to both you and Schrader and Caitlin about speakers that you would like to see, and we sent constant communication regarding speakers, and we didn't get really much response back from y'all about speakers you wanted to see, and then also the list of speakers. And like I said earlier, I do respect you and I appreciate you going up there and saying sorry but talking to the students, but it's just, you really weren't part of that, and it's just frustrating to hear that, you know what I mean? I'm so sorry, but.
Yeah, no, that's completely understandable, and I really appreciate all the work that you and Anna put into making that event a success. You guys put in obviously countless hours over the past few months, so thank you for all your work there. But yeah, it's just something that the concern arose on Monday night from hearing student feedback, and so that's how that came up. So it wasn't something that had occurred before then. So, Josh, are you next, Senator Hong Young?
Okay.
Oh, Scott.
What? Bathroom.
Hello? Okay, hello. Okay, so earlier you said that you're open to listening and then hearing our different of opinions and ideas. But beyond that, this is what everyone before you said and everyone in this position has said as well. And nothing ever changes because of that. So what actions are you going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again?
I guess I would kind of turn the question back and say, what do you want to see? I think that's my role here, is to listen to what students want to see, and really being open to what ideas can happen, because I would be 100% willing to work with whatever that is and try and make something happen. I've been speaking with Eliana about there's a potential list that she has that we can collaborate on and try and find some solutions for some student concerns in the realm of diversity and inclusion. That's, I think, step one here. But I would love to hear any ideas that people have that we can work on improving right away.
But every time I ask that question, when these incidents come out, I always get that same response, what do you want? What do you want me to tell you what to do? Why is it our job to tell you what to do? This issue is our issue. Why is it something that we have to empathize with? It should be something you guys have to solve.
Yes, I agree. It shouldn't be something that we have to lean on people all the time for, and that's something that I will proactively, reach out and have conversations about beginning today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. But other than conversations, and I would appreciate if the Vice President spoke as well, what are you guys thinking about doing? Because I know you guys, in your campaign, you had that cultural competency class requirement for students. What does that entail, and how are you going to promote that?
Yes, so that's something that we began working on this past semester. So we worked with the Department of Residence to kind of review a cultural competency training course that students would be taking upon enrollment and entering the residence halls.
Yes, so starting next fall, all students will take a cultural competency segment through Canvas when they enroll at Iowa State University.
Cool, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Hey, Morgan. Morgan.
Oh.
Way in the back.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. So to begin with, you were talking about the first step. I believe that the first step would actually be apologizing to the panelists and make a positive statement instead of what was already done, and acknowledge what you guys did wrong, because you guys did do things wrong. And I think that it would be completely rude and disrespectful if you completely brushed it off and didn't do anything in regards to that, because she deserves a lot more respect than she was given. And I think it's absolutely disgusting that she's not getting it, and she didn't even get an apology yet. She's been getting apologies from people that didn't even make that statement. How does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's something where I think that, I would apologize for detracting from any of the information or kind of excitement surrounding that diversity and inclusion panel, just because I want the focus to be on diversity and inclusion, and I'm worried that it might have strayed away from that today. But I think the student concerns about the nature of the tweets were valid, but those are her personal tweets. She has the right to say them, and I will stand by her ability to say what she wants to in her personal Twitter and express her academic thoughts and freedoms there.
So what I'm hearing is that you aren't sorry about what had happened. You're sorry that she received any backlash from anyone, okay, but you're the reason why it happened. In addition to that, how were those tweets offensive? Because I saw the tweets. Is it offensive to you because you're white? Because I can guarantee this whole reverse racism thing isn't real if you want to get into that.
Nope, I was not implying reverse racism, but I just have a fundamental belief that, comments or anything along those lines on the basis of race are inherently wrong, and I would say that about any comment.
She said that white men were there's a hierarchy, and that white men will always be at top, and she was not wrong. So you're gonna tell me that what she said was wrong, and that she shouldn't have said that? But it's true, and there's plenty of studies to back that up.
There were a series of tweets that occurred, and I think
I saw them all.
Looking in conjunction with all of them, I think that some concerns were valid, but I stand by her ability to share what she wants to share on her personal Twitter.
Okay, so then I have some concerns that I would like to bring up with you about tweets that I saw that were really offensive to me. So then should we address that?
Sure. We can. Is that a conversation for now, or?
Oh yeah, for sure. If we're getting into that, then we can get into that. And I'm sure that plenty of other people have seen the tweets too from multiple sources. So if you know, I'm still talking here, okay? So if you want to talk about how tweets were offensive and that people brought it up to you, there were multiple people that brought up these tweets to you and other members of Iowa State, and nothing was done. Instead, they were just brushed off. Oh, that's their right to say what they want to say. Okay, but I'm offended by it. When they said that they wanted to arm up, that's a threat.
Yes, and I wholeheartedly agree with you on that matter. I think that those tweets do not reflect, what we should strive for within student government. I don't think that condoning violence of any type should be allowed. So I wholeheartedly agree with you there. This situation was just distinct in the sense that this was a panel that we were hosting, and that we were able to have discretion on who was on the panel. And the simple part of it is that students had concerns because of the tweets about her then being on the panel. But I think that, it was great that she was on it. And it was great that she shared her expertise and that she was able to express her First Amendment freedoms.
Well, for everyone here that came to watch, I'm pretty sure that we can all agree that nothing is going to be done about this situation, because there is no regret about the intent or anything that happened with the statement. So I guess there's no point in us being here tonight.
No, I do regret the impact that this had on, students and their ability to, interact with us as student leaders. And I regret that happened. Yeah.
Correct. All right. You're ready to roll. Yeah, Springer.
I think Sammy's next. Senator Springer, sorry.
Yeah, I really appreciate all you guys coming and talking about how this situation affected you. And first, I really want to back what Mariana said and I'm sorry if I butcher your name, but Breton said. Get involved if you feel like your voice or your viewpoint isn't being heard. It's so important that we have different viewpoints in a community like this. And I really appreciate that even if you're frustrated, that you're still interested in being involved and that you're doing things like coming here and giving your opinions, even when it's a really stressful and emotional situation for you and a stressful and emotional thing for you to come up and talk in front of people that you know, at least some of them don't agree. So thank you so much. And also, Morgan, along with all of us, is a college student, so is Schrader. I really hope that I'm not, as a 21-year-old, the most mature and informed person that I'll ever be. I hope that I grow. I am not a huge fan of what happened and the statement that was put forth by Morgan and Jacob. And I understand your guys' frustration, and I agree with it. But also, for Morgan to come up here and take really like inflammatory arguments, no matter how correct they might be, she's a student and she's doing a really good job trying to answer those questions respectfully, while also she's a representative for the entire college. And part of her job as a representative and part of our jobs as representatives is obviously to stand for what's right and to do what we think is right, but it's also to represent our constituents. So while I feel really strongly that announcements should have been made with previous incidences, and while I'm really upset that they weren't, I guess I am glad that students are being listened to with their concerns, and I'm hoping that while this one I don't agree with those concerns, that action at least continues, where we as representatives are listening to your guys' concerns. And yeah, for what Scott said as well, I hope that, is your name Scott? Okay. I do definitely think that we can do better, and I think that diversity, inclusion modules and stuff like that are really helpful, and I also think it's really helpful to hear exactly how these things are affecting you guys, because obviously I'm white. I haven't had experience with racial discrimination, and while I have heard about a lot of experiences from close friends, I don't know how that affects someone personally. So as representatives, it's really important that we do hear exactly how those situations are affecting you guys, and you're doing that by coming here and talking, so I really appreciate it.
I can relate to like being a student leader, obviously as CPC president, but I still think obviously actions have consequences. I mean, Scott's a student leader. I don't think he ever would have put out this statement, especially without the input of his exec. I wouldn't have ever put out this statement. But I think what we're kind of waiting to hear is, do you see the hypocrisy between like Iowa State posting forums about white fragility and then posting this statement? Like, do you see that hypocrisy?
I understand that there are, concerns with the statement that I've put out and the decision that I've made tonight. And I, entirely am listening, and I can see where that is coming from. I also understand the concern about not releasing statements for a different situation that occurred with a student organization and a senator. The situation behind that is a little bit more nuanced as to why there was not a statement released. Not getting too much into it, but the First Amendment and viewpoint discrimination are a very tricky thing to handle as a student leader, in not wanting to get into a situation where a lawsuit could occur, or where someone was being, discriminated for based on their viewpoint that they're allowed to have underneath the First Amendment. So I know that's pretty vague, but it kind of has to be. But I completely understand people's concerns tonight, and I, will continue to listen, and I want to continue this discussion further. I will be in my office, so please, people, come see me and let's talk about this. I, think that one-on-one personal conversations are the way to go in matters like these.
I'll speak for myself. I'll apologize for not releasing a statement about the earlier incident regarding a senator and that tweets. I think it's increasingly obvious that we should have done so, and I'll apologize for that. And that is my fault for not doing that and attempting to resolve that behind the scenes and encouraging maybe some other, I waited for other people to act. I should have acted. I'm sorry. And that was a mistake on my part. And I will do my best to learn for it and continue to learn.
I would echo this very same thing.
I have a question. Do you know you're privileged?
Yes, I understand wholeheartedly that white privilege is a thing. It's something that I, in the future, when I'm hopefully working as an attorney someday in the criminal justice system, I want to make sure that, white privilege and, I want it to be so that everybody is treated equally in this country, in this state, and at this campus. And so I understand that, there are certain things in my life that are different because of the color of my skin. And I understand that it goes both ways in the sense that some people face more struggles or, additional things because of the color of their skin. But I don't believe that we should be treated differently based on that.
Yes, I agree that you have white privilege, but I also believe that you have privilege to be educated because you attend Iowa State. It is a privilege to be part of the CPC community. It is a privilege to be part of student government, right? There's more privilege beyond just being white, and I would like you to understand that and then use that information to educate yourself. You have all of these resources at your fingertips, and you choose not to use them because that statement screams uneducated. I sent you an email earlier today about your statement and summed up, it was maybe a little bit more farther in length, but the lack of education in that statement, I sure hope it's not the actual reflection of your education on social justice issues. But right now, as the president, that is what we see. And as a CPC member, I would like to point out that CPC and MGC and NPHC offer so many programs on all of these issues that you can use because you're privileged enough to be here beyond your white privilege. And that's something that people don't acknowledge. So I would like you to acknowledge that you have educational privilege beyond your white privilege and use those two in combination to fix what you have done with your statement. Beyond just saying, I'm sorry, and moving on. Because if every time I felt uncomfortable about what a white person said or tweeted, and I told you, would you release a statement?
If students brought me valid concerns about how they're feeling about tweets and the nature of them, I would address it. And I hope in the future that if there are instances like that, I want to see those and I want to hear about them.
Yeah, I respect that, but clearly that hasn't been done in the past. And realistically, sure, that's a couple emails from me a day, at least. Because those comments made to people of color, they don't go unnoticed, but there's not going to be a statement made. And we can just accept that and make changes going forward instead of saying we would handle that, because actions speak louder than words, and you clearly have not done that in the past. So all I ask from you is that you go beyond saying you'll make changes and you'll do that and then moving on.
I want to see those changes. Because although it doesn't affect you, it affects me, and it affects my whole community. Thank you.
I just wanted to address some of the comments that Senator Springer made. No disrespect or anything, but if we're not making spaces in this room for marginalized identities to feel comfortable, they are not going to be represented in the decisions that are made about the student body. And I think, as Senator Lona has talked about earlier, there's a reason why a lot of them have left this space.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I hope what I said didn't come off as the opposite of what you just said, because I 100% agree with you, and I really liked everything that Leslie said earlier. I think what I was trying to say is, and similar to what Scott said earlier, he's definitely right that it isn't the marginalized group's responsibility to create spaces for themselves where they can be heard. I'm trying to, but it's really appreciated when their viewpoint is heard. Because like I said, as a white woman, I don't experience these things. I experience them as an ally and as a friend to people who experience them. And I think that I'm educated and care about how people with experiences different than my own are acting. And you are 100% right that we need to have more spaces in student government and on campus that are inclusive to different races and different genders, more so than we have right now, and that student government is one of those places that can really be improved. And I guess I'm saying that I think part of what can help with that is having people like you and the people that have been talking join, because there are people that are affected by this differently than the people that are in student government now and are affected by it. Like I said, as much as I think that I am educated and care deeply about people with different experiences than I am, and as upset as I am about earlier instances of racism on campus not being addressed in the way I wanted them to, there's only so much personal experience that I have in knowing exactly what people directly experiencing those want done. Yeah, and I guess also what I was saying earlier, I wanted to clarify this about us always having room for maturing and growing, and about us being representatives, is that I think Morgan is very genuine, and I certainly am genuine and about this, that we want to improve and change for the better. And I think this is a really great platform to hear your guys' concerns and to hear what specific change and growth you want from us. But I also know that Morgan is genuine and I'm genuine, and I'm sure all the other senators are genuine, and saying that emailing us or reaching out to us would also really be appreciated. And that's always something that we would love, because we need new viewpoints. We need different viewpoints. And this is something that this problem on campus is something that's going to take a lot of different voices and a lot of strength to fix and to improve. So again, I really appreciate you guys coming, and I hope you understand that while it's a difficult situation to talk about in a public forum like this, that it is one that we want to continue having on a one-to-one basis, and that we want to work with you to fix. So thank you again for coming and giving your opinions. They're really appreciated.
Do you want to, let's go with Senator Han Young, Senator Anderson, and then Jen. Okay. Or set. Yep.
Okay.
So earlier you said that you recognize like the different struggles that different races like go through and like how there's different levels to it. But then before that you said that you treat all comments on race the same. And like if you treat all comments on race the same, you fail to recognize the different struggles and adversity that each race faces. So I just want to understand like why'd you say that? If especially since you're going to be an attorney, like how are you going to be able to support people of color with different adversities and different struggles if you're not willing to be able to recognize those struggles?
Yeah, so I certainly do, recognize the struggles that people face. You look at the personal stories are one thing, and then you look at the facts and statistics on top of that. There's no question that people of different races face different issues in all areas, whether that's education or the criminal justice system or all of the above. But at the end of the day, I don't think that anyone making, any comments of concern or negativity about another race is right. And so while I do understand the unique struggles that each face and that each has a different historical context and background, I don't condone of it in any situation.
I'm still really confused because race will play into everything that we do in our everyday life. So if like a white man makes $1, then women make like 87 cents. So would you consider that like a racist statement?
I'd say that's an injustice that needs to be fixed. But I'm more talking about the nature of people's speech in general. Of any comments towards any race that is negative simply on the basis of someone's skin color, I can't say that that's right.
But like these statements are telling people about the privilege that white people have. Like that should shed light on the situation. So we make things that make it more equitable for people that are being oppressed because of these systems.
Yes, and I think it's right to bring attention to those situations, but I think that it matters the context and how and what is said.
Well then, how was what the panelists said, like where do you disagree with that statement?
I don't want to go into the specifics of the tweets because I think that's not the focus of what this should be. I think that the focus is that students were concerned about how the tweets were said, and I brought that concern through this statement saying that, how the tweets were written, it's not something that I think reflects the values or the ideals that student government should strive to achieve in treating people, with respect and, kindness. But still allowing her that space to express what she thinks on that panel was really the goal with that statement.
Can you elaborate on these concerns that people had about her comments?
Yes, they were concerned that the tweets were talking negatively about people on the basis of the color of their skin.
How so though? I'm still really confused at how that makes sense.
The tweets can be looked up online. I don't want to go through and say them right now. I don't have them pulled up, but they were cause for concern for students.
I feel like we all know what she said. What she said, man? She said.
Hold on 1 second. So here's one.
She said, well,
She goes, lastly, I try to limit my interactions with them, with white people as much as possible because the self-importance and performance, especially during Black History Month. And I think that's completely valid.
It's all you, bro.
Oh my God, I can't. Because I think that oftentimes there is a thing called white guilt, and I think that it's often performative, specifically around Black History Month, where there are white people who want to speak out and they want to post things on social media because they want to be allies, but that's not their genuine intention. Another one is, that said, it is foolish to dismiss student critique. Always listen, but learn to accept that white men with dirty hair, basically that white men will always be on top, which is accurate. And then, so this picture was an issue because it said that someone called her white, and so is that an issue? Is that causing harm to other people? Because it's not. But you want to know what tweets do cause people harm? I'll pull those up too. All right, so here we have one from the, the College Republicans at Iowa State. They quoted a thing from the Washington Post that was talking about the immigration enforcement, and they said, please come to Ames. So many illegals that must be deported. That's harmful. I am Mexican. I have friends that, their residency is that's harmful to them, but nothing was done there. Here's one by the same group. It says, everyone at Iowa State needs to realize that transgenderism is a mental illness. Come back to God. Harmful, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. I agree.
Okay, another one. Okay, so this person said that they spoke to several people at the White House that were prepared for war, and they quoted it, and they said, we're ready to fight.
Yeah.
Oh, and then again, the other one, we must arm up. Detrimental, very harmful to all marginalized groups.
I would agree with you that those tweets are not the values that we should be portraying.
So where's your statement?
So this statement was tied in conjunction because we invited this panelist to be a Women's Week speaker.
Does not matter. You are supposed to uphold, and you are supposed to create a safe space for all students on this institution, and obviously you're not doing that. So regardless of if they were invited or not, does not matter. Your job is to make sure that the students are safe. A lot of students voted for you. I sure didn't, but they did.
Yeah.
Still your job to make sure that all the students are safe. Or do you think that you only have one job? To hold a panel? Pretty sure that's not your only job.
No, I 100% agree with you that it's, falls under my duties to make sure that campus and campus climate.
Okay, so then again, where's your statement?
I will tell you right now that I abhor all of those tweets, and I think that they're wrong, and I think that
Not the same thing as your little statement on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. Not the same thing.
Mr. President, I would like to raise a point of order.
Go for it.
You can't object to a point of order.
Why? Because I'm speaking? There's a good back and forth going on. I'm expressing my concerns.
I appreciate that.
Senator Mass, your point is well taken. I would ask the speakers to respect each other's time and to not speak over one another. Thank you.
I really appreciate you bringing, those tweets to my attention and, speaking on those tonight. I would like to give everyone in the room still a chance to speak if they haven't spoken. I just want to make sure that I'm not taking up the time up here. So if there are other people that would like to do this, I can answer more questions, but I would want others to have their turn.
All right, I have not yielded my time. How many minutes are left?
There's not a time limit on open forum. We've blown past any bylaw requirements, but
Sounds
I'm just
good.
letting it go. So.
Okay, so I have a question for President Fritz, Vice President Schrader, and Chief of Staff Rowling. During this last week, and actually the last couple weeks, I have worked with Director of Diversity Inclusion Lauren Perk to help plan a social media campaign that would provide outreach to students in marginalized groups, specifically ones that are student organizations such as Black Student Alliance, but ones that are not formally organized, such as Ames BLM, which is an organization that I have met constituents who have had concerns regarding both student government and this university. And with the intention of this social media campaign was to provide the things that we are lacking today: transparency in student government and this university, and ability for student voices actually to be heard in public comments and public forums like this one, so that we are able to hear these more regularly and we don't have to limit it to this conversation. And during that conversation, and I don't know how much at liberty I'm allowed to disclose, this idea was shot down for the purpose of having the university still be painted in a good light so that student critiques were not too demanding and demanding things that were unrealistic, and specifically that student government would not be the ones to criticize the university. Now, hearing what you have heard today, would you support this social media campaign through student government and allow Director of Diversity and Inclusion Lauren Perk to implement it?
Yeah, so our intention with that was to serve as a liaison for student concerns. So any concerns that students bring to us, we will work with student organizations, work with student clubs to, take those in, find actionable steps, and bring those to administration. I spoke with Eliana today about a PDF she had shown me that you two have been working on, and I would be more than happy to look at some action items and how that pertains and how we can bring that to administration.
Sorry.
I would also say that, a big part of our job is maintaining a good relationship with them in order to best, get our work done. And so I think that by working collaboratively with student organizations and with administration, and really being, a conduit for student concerns, that's how we can best operate in bringing those and making sure that change is actionable and change is, relevant to what concerns students are bringing up.
Yes or no, would you support this campaign through social media?
Yeah, I think that we would certainly take into account any ideas about a campaign of sharing student stories and making sure that those stories are then heard by us and by the administration, so that we can effectively represent all students in making sure that they feel the campus climate is good and that they have the best experience possible here at Iowa State.
Okay, I yield.
So we'll go to Senator Anderson.
All right, I'm not going to take up too much time because I feel like the conversation should be focused on the students that came here, but I want to echo a lot of Senator Han-Young's points that we can do better as an organization in creating spaces where the people that came tonight are more comfortable talking to us. And it's not just because we didn't have office hours this year. We need to do better as a okay. And I feel that a lot of senators, I'm speaking on your behalf, a lot of senators in this room are going to enact legislation that helps bring this conversation to us more often than just tonight. And lastly, I just want to point out that we're all uncomfortable in this room. We all feel so many different emotions right now, but being uncomfortable is how you change the overall mindset of a group. And I feel that's what we're doing tonight. Even though we are feeling these things, we are. So, I yield.
All right, Jen.
Hi, can you all hear me? Okay, awesome. So hi, I would just like to introduce myself to all of you who are here tonight. I'm so happy that you're here and talking to us about what you think. Okay, can you hear me now? Great, okay. Let me start over. Hi, my name is Jennifer Seth, and I am the Director of Sustainability of Student Government. And I would like to start by thanking all of you for coming tonight and sharing with us how you feel about this statement. I will share how I feel about it, and I personally do not agree with what President Fritz and Vice President Schrader have said today. I feel like it is very harmful, and I think the release of this statement really shows the hypocrisy that is inherent in this organization, which is something that has been bothering me for many years as somebody who has been watching student government for a long time. This is an issue, and it needs to be addressed. And I would like to talk a little bit about something that Senator Springer said. No disrespect to you. I would just like to say, she was talking about how we need to, or how we encourage students who have something they would like to say, or if they have a concern, to email us about their concerns. And I think that while that is good, and we encourage all of you to email us, it is not your job to email us. We represent you. We are here for you. So we need to be reaching out to you and asking you, how are you doing? What's going on? What can we help you with? Because we represent you. So I think this is a message to all of us, not just President Fritz and Vice President Schrader, because the problem of racism and hypocrisy is so prevalent in this organization. I have been sitting at these Senate meetings for about a year now, watching all of these things go down. And to echo what Senator Lona said earlier, I think there's a reason why we have lost so many senators this year. And I think we all know what it is. So I'm calling on all of you, and as myself, because I am running to be a senator for Schiller University Village next year, that we need to do better. And by doing better, we need to reach out to the people that we represent and ask them, how do you feel? What do you need? Because that is how we bring everybody into this space, by talking to our constituents and doing our jobs, which is not what we have been doing this year. So
thank you, and please let us consider this, because I love student government and I love being in student government. Obviously, I wouldn't be here if I didn't enjoy it, and I wouldn't be running again if I didn't enjoy it. But this organization has disappointed me this year. And a lot of people that I talk to, you know, they say, oh yeah, student government, like that's what we are now. And we have the ability to do better, but we are not treating our students the way that they should be treated. We are not treating our constituents the way that they should be treated. So therefore, I ask all of you, talk to your people. Ask them what they need. Don't wait for them to come to you, because when you wait for them to come to you, this is what happens, and we're all upset and we're all angry. And I think that there could have been ways to better handle this, but we didn't do that because we didn't talk to our people. That is all. Thank you.
Senator Pfeiffer, did you want to come up, use the podium? Great.
Hello, I'm Senator Daniel Pfeiffer for IRHA. Many of you know me. People in the back do not. I think tonight was very disappointing. A lot of people came in here and extremely rudely voiced their opinions. And I have nothing wrong with the second part. The first part is very concerning. If we can't have a civil conversation, what are we doing? It's ridiculous. Absolutely unacceptable. I'm very disappointed. So, I, for one, think that this was not a bad statement. It condemns racism, which is, I think, something that every single one of us should and does agree with. It says right here, no one should be reduced to the color of their skin. That sounds right. I don't know. If anyone disagrees with that, I'm sorry. The tweets from the panelists do not reflect the views of student government. We believe that prejudice based on race or the color of someone's skin is wrong in all contexts. That is correct. There is nothing disputable about that statement. I'm kind of shocked to see how many people are upset about the fact that student government, in specific, Vice President Schrader and President Fritz, have decided to allow a speaker who they do not agree with to come to their event. I don't understand how you can be upset for allowing someone to speak who you disagree with. It is their right. It is very respectful that we allow someone to come here who we can disinvite from our event. We run the event. We can, in fact, tell them to go away, but we don't. And I think that is the correct call in every circumstance. If we disagree with something, we should let other people speak their opinion, even if we disagree with that opinion. I don't think it matters who they are, what they've done. In any event, this is the exact right response. We say respectfully, we do not agree with this, we do not approve this behavior, but you can come and speak your opinion anyway. We should let all opinions be heard, no matter how racist or potentially dangerous in the case of a senator. It doesn't matter. We should let them speak, and we should be able to voice our concern with their speech.
I agree you don't understand. I know you can't understand because you're white, and there's nothing more to that. That is white privilege.
Are you saying that I am incapable of comprehending an idea because of the color of my skin?
No, wait, whoa. No. You said you cannot understand how people are this upset. And I'm saying the reason you can't understand that is not because you're not intellectually capable. It's because you're white, because you have not experienced something that would make you understand, because you're privileged, because you're white. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not calling you stupid. I'm telling you, you can't understand because you won't experience that. And I agree. I'm here for a conversation, and I think everyone who came here to have a conversation can agree with me that we haven't had a conversation yet. There's a lot of, oh, we'll do something about it. We want to hear what you want. No, That's not a conversation. We want answers. Because if you don't say you're going to do anything, there's nothing to hold you up to that standard, right? And sure, I agree that you said that, you know, everybody matters. Everyone's opinions matter, right? I do not believe that everybody's opinions that are being given here are being valued and being taken and giving an answer. Like if I have a question, I expect an answer. I'm not sitting here on my time that I should be doing homework or I should be studying for finals that I have or midterms coming up in a couple days. Instead, I am here explaining to you guys that you are privileged and you will not understand with the expectation that there will be change. But nowhere have I been told that. Do you understand why I'm frustrated?
Yes, I think there is no need for a change. I think this response should have been applied in the case of Senator Hurley a couple months ago, and in this case and any other future past case of this controversy type. I think this is the ideal response.
Okay.
Castro.
And I know as a white person, it's hard to be told you're wrong. And anyone, it's hard to be told you're wrong at all because even people of color are learning every day. No one is ever fully educated because these issues are changing, they're evolving, and they're developing. But it is not rude to come here and tell somebody they're wrong. Because as a person of color, we're told we're wrong all the time. As a female, I'm told in the engineering department, gosh, am I wrong like 12 times a day? Okay? So no one here is being rude. They're frustrated and they're fed up, just as you seem to be frustrated and fed up because you don't understand. I just want to make that clear.
With all due respect, I think multiple people here tonight have been extremely rude to the president and the vice president tonight. And I hope that doesn't continue in the future. I'm going to call on Senator Zastro next.
No. Okay. So I'm going to reimpose the rules of order on this debate. In accordance with our bylaws, you get one speaking privilege for 10 minutes, and there are no questions asked. We're not going to have, if you have something to say, you can come up, you can speak once, but I think we need to make sure that we have a productive conversation moving forward. So I'm going to not allow you to ask a question, okay. Senator Zastro. Senator Zastro has not used any of his, he could use his open forum time if he would like.
Excuse me, are you saying that we can't ask you questions?
I'm saying you can make statements in accordance with the rules of order of our student government governing documents.
So I came here tonight because I thought this was a public forum where I could ask questions, so could you explain what you meant by that?
Sure. In student government, we have an open forum where students can address issues and comments in accordance with Robert's rules, and that's our parliamentary procedure guide that we follow, and we've created rules for that. This Senate actually, I think, voted unanimously for the rules on the current open forum guidelines, which allow members of the public to make comments and limits those comments to 10 minutes.
Is this still working? Okay, so I would like to know where I'm supposed to go to be able to speak with all of you in one place and ask you guys questions if I can't do that here.
I think that's a fair question. I don't think our current governing documents allow for that. We have a student government office that I'm sure we can post some times maybe that we'll all be there and we can open it up. I know Morgan and I have an office and we would be happy to talk with you. Morgan, if you want to. Let's turn it off. Just preach.
So I was, just looking at my schedule, and I think that on Friday from noon to 2, I'm going to plan on being in the office. I would invite anybody to be there and just come in and use it like that. Otherwise, we can set up a time to personally meet. You can set up time to personally meet with any of us in this room. But I would say that as many of us could be there from noon to 2 on Friday, I would be more than happy to, talk with people one-on-one, host, a listening session, whatever people would want to speak about. I think that would be a good time to do so. If that
I
would be-
appreciate the offer, but I think this is a problem within the entire student government, which is why I would like to voice my question to everybody instead of just you. So can I please ask my question? Thank you.
No. I'm sorry.
All right, I will make my statement. For the senators sitting in front of me, I hope you're embarrassed of your vice president and your president on the statement they put out today and the way that they are treating the people of the community, especially to the person sitting up there who called the people that came in and voiced their opinions rude. Your white privilege is showing, and I hope you all do something to educate yourself. There are plenty of diversity, equity, and inclusion classes offered at Iowa State, and I took the liberty of putting them in the comments on that post so that you guys would have an easy time finding them, and that is my statement.
Senator Zastro.
Unfair if you allow for President Fritz to stand at the podium for probably half an hour and give questions, and then when other people try to have the same kind of dialogue that she had the opportunity to have, that you refuse them the opportunity. If you restrict people from asking questions that are necessary for us to be a functioning student government that listens to the student body, I'll move to overrule the chair. I'll just let you know that before it happens.
Senator Zastro, I'll say your point's well taken, but I would very much encourage us to be concise and clear in our comments. So, if you, I will allow questions. I won't gavel it out, but please ask.
Thank you. To Senator Pfeiffer, you're right that the statement condemning racism is a good thing and the right thing. The people who came here have a larger issue, if my understanding is correct, with the part of the statement that implies that the tweets by the panelists were racially defamatory. Because if you look at the tweets where they talk about the fact that there is a racial hierarchy, if you come from the kind of colorblind perspective, you could say that's racist because it's one race has more power than another. But this is an institution where we have courses where you can learn that that's just the case. That's the truth. So I think that the part of the statement implying that those are a bad thing, that the statements describing accurate racial hierarchies in the United States are a problem, that implication is the issue with the statement. I would like to thank everybody else for coming and speaking. It's really important that you guys are here. I agree that it shouldn't be necessary for you all to come to Senate. It feels like every 6 months and have this conversation. But we keep finding ourselves here, so something's not working. I would encourage you all to reach out to Election Commission if there are any Senate seats that are, Anderson. There's one Senate seat.
Sure.
So I would encourage you all to reach out to Election Commission, see if you can get a Senate seat, because this is the place for those views to be expressed. And having you all as part of this organization really does make a big difference. I'll say I texted President Fritz earlier saying that I agreed with your decision. To clarify on that, I agree that the panelists should be able to speak. And that's something where I made the mistake too. I saw the tweets a couple days ago when they were on the Americans for Freedom's Instagram story. And since then, when I read the statement, I kind of just assumed that the statement was correct, that they were seriously racially motivated. And then when I was able to see him again, I realized that the statement you put out, I really do think missed the point. What part of it, of those tweets, do you think are racially biased?
So I would first just like to, kind of disagree with the characterization that has been made about the statement. It was not that I wanted this speaker to come in. Eliana and Anna and Lauren, spoke about how it's important to listen to the voices of women of color. And so, in order for her to express her First Amendment rights and still be able to speak on this issue, I wanted her expertise as a woman of color and as a women and gender studies professor. But I felt that, the student concerns over the nature of the tweets and just how they were said, was a bit of a cause of concern that should be addressed. But in spite of what the tweets and how they were written said, it was so important that she still be on the panel and that she express those First Amendment rights. But I don't feel that it reflects the views of student government and how those tweets were written. So I understand where you're coming from, but I would disagree kind of with the characterization that's been made that we disagreed with the speaker and all her thoughts. No, I think she was a great panelist.
If I may, that's not what I meant to say. I meant that
Okay.
you disagreed with those tweets and you don't support the tweets, but we wanted to invite that speaker anyway. So
Yeah,
I
okay.
agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm sorry if that didn't come across exactly how I meant it.
So, where in those tweets is there something that student government would disagree with?
Just the fact that, I think any, comment that is negatively directed towards somebody or a group of people based on the color of their skin, I don't think that's something that we support.
But what if those are just facts?
I mean, her experiences is what allowed her to be on the panel. But I think that how the tweets were written in that negative manner is not how we should, strive to treat each other. But I think that her expertise and her knowledge and her experiences still lent themselves on the panel, and I think that it was great to include her there.
I think I'm missing where those tweets were disrespectful. I think that's what I'm missing.
I just had students reach out to me that the content and the nature of how the tweets were written was cause for concern to them. And so I wanted to be respectful of all student viewpoints and make sure that there is a balance of that there.
I appreciate that attempt. I would say that just because people are reaching out doesn't mean that those concerns are necessarily legitimate. And we need to take those concerns critically before just assuming that they need to be catered to. I appreciate that you did the outreach, but I think that I'm sure that you've learned from this instance as well.
I appreciate you taking the time to speak, Mason.
Yeah. So yeah. I yield.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate recess for 5 minutes.
It's been a motion for a recess for 5 minutes. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the Senate stands at recess. The Senate will reconvene at 7:50 p.m.
For everyone's information, I will be chairing for the remainder of the meeting. People will resume their seats. Okay. We will resume open forum. People wishing to speak will be recognized. I will be enforcing the rules of debate. There is some mechanism for back and forth, so if there's discussion, I will allow it. Please be respectful, but also I want everyone to be heard. So, individuals wishing to be recognized may approach the podium or raise their placards.
Julia, I'm a freshman here at Iowa State in nutritional sciences pre-med. I'm a part of the sorority Alpha Phi. I'm the vice president of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I just wanted to come tonight to talk briefly on the statement that was made today. As a white woman, I have no idea what it's like to be a person of color. I will never face the challenges that my friends or family face. And so part of me feels like I don't really have a place being here talking because I will never understand what it's like to be where they are. And I just want to say that it was really upsetting to me that the people who viewed the panelist, well, first, let's call her what she is. She's a doctor. She is a woman of color who is educated, a professional in her field. So let's not strip that respect away from her at all. And how they were saying that the comments she made were racist towards white people in general. I don't know if you are educated enough on white privilege and just social justice in general, but you cannot be racist towards white people. You cannot oppress the oppressor. That is not something that exists, and it never will. Because if reverse racism were an issue, it would mean that we live in a world where all racial groups have equal institutional, social, and systemic power, but we don't. So what she was saying was not racist towards white people, and it was not hurtful. And if you think it was hurtful, then you need to assess your white privilege. So I'm just really disappointed by what was said today and what was interpreted by the statement by some of you. And I really hope you can look back on that and learn from that and continue to educate yourselves.
Hello, my name is Summer Lee. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I just have a lot of things to say. We've been in this position for a very long time. This is not the first time we've been in here for racial incidents. It's not going to be the last. However, I believe that there should be an apology to Dr. Mukherjee. Let's call her who she is. She is a person, okay? She is a woman of color. She is very, very intelligent. People need to apologize for the statements that were brought upon her. You can only imagine how her emails are right now filled with hate. I personally emailed her this morning, making sure that she was okay, making sure that she's fine. However, I just feel like people should not be able to tell me as a Black queer woman of how I should be able to feel in these spaces. Who are you to tell me that how I'm feeling is not okay or that I'm being quote, quote, disrespectful? I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm very frustrated. I've been here for a long time. It's been 3 years, and this is the same stuff that's happening constantly over and over again. So the way that my peers are acting maybe seem as disrespectful to you, but you can only imagine how tired that we are. You've been in this conference for what time is it? Okay, it's been an hour and 55 minutes that you've been uncomfortable, almost 2 hours. Well, guess what? Once the moment that I step foot out of here, I'm still uncomfortable. I'm still not protected. I'm still not safe. So the fact that you even had a panel that talked about Women's Week and you sit here and you talk about racial and all this stuff, you literally brought a woman of color to this panel and then was trying to tell her that she cannot be on it because she's expressing how she feels, which is valid if you've ever had a thing called sociology before. This is nothing that you even have to study. This is common knowledge. I really think that I really want to see what are your action plans. What are really your action plans? I don't want you to run around the question saying what I should be doing or how I should be helping you. Every time we are in this situation, we are constantly focused on marginalized folks. It is time to stop stepping from that because it's not our problem. You should have ran that statement probably by other people. I don't know how these things work, but I know a lot of senators right now have walked out. We have had 2 senators walk out. One has just returned. Can you imagine how they feel? Can you imagine how excluded they feel? Do you understand why you don't have people of color on your panels? Why they're not here? Why they're not in these seats? Why I haven't joined? How I want to join, but I will never join because the simple fact that I know I would not be accepted here. I know I speak on that for a lot of people. And like I said, you cannot tell people who are in this situation, AKA women of color or people of color or marginalized communities, how the fuck they should feel because there is no way for you to ever feel that situation. Like I said, and don't sit here and try to put the stereotype of people are being angry. They have every right to be angry. Imagine how angry you would be if you have to sit here and constantly repeat yourself and live this trauma on and on again. And that is all I have to say.
Other individuals?
Hi, everyone. I just want to make sure that I address that Eliana Crabb and I created Women's Week with the real goal of celebrating all women everywhere. That was our goal. And as we were mentioned tonight, that obviously ended up not being the goal. And it's really frustrating to hear that because all voices should be heard. Over and over throughout this whole entire year, we've been preaching First Amendment, First Amendment. How come that doesn't apply to everyone? That's like my one question. I don't understand why it doesn't. And when this whole statement had been brought up, I remember talking to the individuals in question that why would we release a statement about this and not anything else? And we went over it and we went over it and we continued to say that, and it's very frustrating. I understand this is a learning experience for everyone, but it's common sense. Like everyone should be educating themselves on this, especially if you're in a leadership role within student government. Everyone should be heard, and student government hasn't been that for people. When I joined this, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing platform to learn so many things. And it's very frustrating that just only in a year, I'm seeing quite the opposite. We need to educate ourselves because throughout working with Director of Outreach Crabb and Director of Diversity and Inclusion Lauren Perk, I've learned so much myself, and it's frustrating to see that I am trying my hardest over here and not everyone's trying the same hardest. And you know what? That's not even as hard as some students are feeling on this campus right now. There are students that are feeling neglected and discouraged every single day, and it's not fair. And for anyone that feels like, oh, this is not a serious issue, it is. It really is. And it's hard when you're working in an area with someone and you don't learn and you're scared of them and you just feel like you can't do anything anymore. You want to be professional, but it's not about professionalism anymore. It's about being morally correct in what you think that you should do. And I would encourage every single person sitting in this room to understand that before student government, you need to learn about the students. And like everyone says that student government is for the students, but we're not. So that's all I have to say about that, but I really just am so saddened that this week that had the purest of intentions that we were hoping to really progress and continue to develop has turned into this. And I'm so sorry for everyone that this week hurt them in any sort of way. And thank you so much.
All right, folks, I had to step out for about 50 minutes to work with Leslie Lona for our Women's Week speaker today, talking about violence against Latino women. If you want to watch it back, you totally can. I know we're wrapping up, but I did listen in a little bit, and some of the points I have is, first, when this conversation came up on Sunday, it was very short. There was a short time that we knew about it. I remember that we set up a meeting, and I looked at Caitlin Rowling, and I talked to her chief of staff, and I said, listen to women of color in this conversation, and it just didn't happen. And I know that she advised President Fritz and Vice President Schrader, And the fact that we didn't get listened to in this conversation about women in diversity and inclusion is really, really scary. And it really freaks me out. I know a lot of students within student government have already been really emotional, and including me. I don't like being emotional, but it hurts me to my core. Second thing, I also listen to student government talk about how we can do better, how we should have been doing things, and how you need to promote equity on campus. There has been about 100 ways to do that within me and Anna's projects. We did the Social Justice Forum in the summer regarding the racial issues that happened in July, and that was put on by our summer PR. We decided that we wanted to jump ahead and do PR in the summer because we realized that student government isn't getting a good name right now, so that's something we need to work on a team with. We emailed every single one of you, and none of y'all joined. I think Jennifer Seth did, that was speaking earlier, and I appreciate her. There's a couple more, but I don't see them in this room. So there's that. I have tabling every single week. If you want to do more outreach to groups, table. And there's also Women's Week spots where you could promote equity and you can promote student government in a positive light, and that didn't happen. I had only people sign up from cabinet and also Julie Anderson. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. But we've had constant opportunities to talk about diversity and inclusion. We did Summer for the Students. We asked a whole bunch of y'all to give us wonderful students that are diverse and smart, and none of y'all did that. And I understand that y'all need to get better, but also just participate in the things that we are doing for y'all to make y'all look better. We're trying to make you guys be a part of the conversation, and it's just not happening. So if I do send out something about tabling, sign up. And also to President Fritz and Vice President Schrader, this has been really hard. This has been a really hard year. I remember talking about the Social Justice Forum with y'all in the summer with Anna, and it kind of got shot down right away. And you ended up getting a huge congratulation from the Board of Regents on our project. So to hear that it got at first it was kind of an idea to you. So for y'all to get congratulated on the Board of Regents, that means you should listen to us. You should listen to us and listen to women of color when we talk. I know that Lauren Perk, and I am so sorry if I'm speaking on behalf of her, Jacob Schrader has made her feel the most disrespected she's ever felt in her life. She is a woman of color. We deal with that every second of every day. So for her to feel like she's in a safe spot, he appointed her, and for her to feel the most disrespected she's ever been in her life and not get an apology yet is disgusting, and it makes me so sad. And I'm only speaking on behalf of her, and I am so sorry about that, Lauren Perk, but that really, really crushes me. I want y'all to do better as a Senate, and same with Cabinet. Sign up for things we give you the opportunities to shed light and be good and be a wonderful senator and represent your constituencies. I know with the CALS community, I've done outreach with the individual CALS college, and I've reached out to some of y'all and just haven't gotten back to me. So if you are interested in making this a better program, participate in things like Women's Week, participate in the Social Justice Forum, Summer for the Students, COVID-19 Diversity and Inclusion Survey that we all sent out. Programs that Anna and I are putting on are for diversity and inclusion and equity, and listen to the people that are putting on these wonderful projects and participate if you want the Senate to get better. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you all.
Hi, I just have one more thing to say. So I wanted to shed light that Dr. Repulsa, what she was saying, those were not her opinions. Those were her actual experiences. And those being her experiences, those are facts. So what she was saying, maybe those were hurtful to some, but those are not an opinion of hers. Those are not a belief of hers. Those actually happened to her. So they are valid and they are important. And for those of you sitting here thinking, this is so boring, why are we still here? Like, we get it, blah, blah, blah. If you're confused by why we've been sitting here for over 2 hours now, discussing the same thing over and over, then that is a sign you need to educate yourselves on why we have been sitting here talking about this. I wish we weren't here for 2 hours, because this is something we all should be educated about, something we all should be aware of and know, but of course it's not, and it's still going to be something we still need to educate ourselves on. And I just don't really have any words, but I really appreciate you all for being here and taking the time to listen. regardless of what your opinions or beliefs were on this and the statement. But thank you for your time.
Okay, hi again, it's me, Brianna. So what I just wanted to say was that to some of you, I came up here and I was rude and I was disrespectful, and I'm not gonna apologize for that at all. I have every right to be upset and I have every right to be angry because this is something that I deal with every single day. This is something like Summerlee had discussed before. You guys have been sitting here for 2 hours and you guys are annoyed. Okay, well imagine living it every single second of your life from the day that you are born. Okay. Like I said, I was in this room pretty much a whole year ago because of the Students Against Racism, and literally nothing has changed. Literally nothing has changed. I think that is something that you guys should take into consideration. So if I seem rude or I'm disrespectful, I am tired. I am exhausted. This isn't even the only racial issue that I'm dealing with right now. I have so many other things that I have put on the back burner for today so I could come here and discuss this now.
Hi everyone. Again, my name is Mariana Gonzalez. I'm a second-year student studying political science and public relations from Eagle Grove, Iowa, and I use pronouns she, her, and hers. And on student government, I serve as the Vice Speaker of the Senate and the CPC Senator. I have been involved in student government for 2 years now, and I just want to be transparent about the experiences I've had. I have faced many microaggressions as a woman of color, and me being present in student government has been my defiant way of being in spaces that weren't made for me. A lot of you talk about being involved in having marginalized communities, run for student government or be a senator, get on a committee. But Eliana and I are involved. Lauren was involved. And even when we were involved, they were shut down. We faced microaggressions during our time here. I spent so much of my free time as a student government member, all with the hopes that I can make campus truly inclusive for all students. But when we do get involved, it's so mentally exhausting existing in these spaces. I thought I had a friend with Morgan and Jacob. But after today's statements, I realized that they didn't see me as a person of color. They didn't see that I have faced oppression as a woman of color. And unfortunately, we're seeing a year of frustration coming out tonight from our marginalized communities because our students do care about these issues. You know, whether they don't show up to every single Senate meeting, they do face it. And unfortunately, people of color have to put it on the back burner, like it was said. We have to be a college student, we have to be a worker, we have to be a sister, a babysitter, we have to be so many of these identities. But the largest one we face is our color, is the color of our skin. And so I just wanted to say that, tonight they said that it was not to discredit the professor who was on the panel, the doctor who was on the panel, and it's tried to become a matter of free speech. And honestly, it isn't about that. It's about, as Senator Zastro said, catering to a specific set of students. And so unfortunately, when the tweets regarding violence against marginalized communities were brought up, those concerns didn't meet a necessity for a statement. Those concerns didn't meet the need to be outspoken. But these were I honestly want to ask Jacob and Morgan, like, why were these students listened to and not marginalized students? Can you answer?
I think you raise a valid point, Mariana, and I'm sorry for, I think, the pain and the grief in your voice and the other members in student government. I think the last one should have been a statement, and honestly, I don't want to get, we were in the same meeting together about Senator Hurley, trying to plan what we were going to do. We decided to wait till IRHA had decided, until the appeal option had expired. And after that point, we didn't want to make a First Amendment statement or a statement condemning speech and then have Senator Hurley remove and then sue student government for having speech be the reason as to why. But that isn't really a good answer. So I know it's not a good answer. I'm sorry.
I would agree, Mariana, that we should have made a statement following, understanding that he wasn't going to be removed, and that we found the tweets about arming up to be, something that we don't agree with and don't stand with the values of student government. Yeah, that should have been done. So I apologize, for obviously, the pain that you are feeling right now. We should have also made a statement regarding that incident. I agree. Thank you.
And I want to give you guys the benefit of the doubt. I really do. But my entire life, I've had to forgive white people and allow them to improve after I've been hurt. But I'm exhausted. I am 20 years old, and I'm exhausted of allowing white people to improve while I continue to be just mentally challenged and hurt emotionally. The opportunity to improve was presented because Eliana and Lauren and Anna presented it. They had it there. But unfortunately, both of you chose to ignore it. And I will remember that you guys made that choice. When people step into these leadership positions, their words hold a heavier weight than other students. So all I can say is, if you're in a leadership position on campus, take responsibility, especially when the marginalized communities in question are impacted, and voice how they feel. I'm a woman of color, and I'm proud to be a woman of color. I don't shy away from challenges, and I don't shy away from leadership experiences because I know that I am the role model I needed when I was younger. And so closing up, I hope we can continue to have these conversations because I considered a lot of you friends. I didn't just consider you colleagues. And the way that some of you have reacted to this event showed me how my perspective might be altered in your guys' lives. So I hope this conversation and the events that occurred tonight are able to be used as a way to just see real people, see us, as we are, and know that what happens does impact us. I was in here a year ago, actually, in the fall semester as a freshman, crying in front of President Wendy Winterstein about racism. And going forward, I'm stepping into leadership positions because I want to see the change, because I want to be the change. And so I'm hoping that you guys can come along with me in that positive cultural change. Thank you so much for listening to me tonight.
Mr. President. Seeing no further speakers, I move that we adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn and there's a second. Are there any objections? The Senate stands adjourned.